We've got to answer the bell. Now let's go.
It's Monday, and welcome into Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Chris Yow, joined as always by Will Patton. We are here on this Reaction Monday, and we told you the weather was going to be good. So, the weather's good.
The weather is good, yeah. I'm almost overdressed, but I'm not complaining.
I have no idea if Justin can hear us.
Justin, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, there we go.
My computer is frozen, Justin, so I was trying to upload the lower thirds, and now I'm getting the spinning wheel of death. So
Y'all look and sound great.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Glad to hear it.
Well, that's relative, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But,
Wait.
yeah.
I don't know about the looking part.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. Well, welcome in. We've got a great show lined up for you. LANDEN SECREST is going to join us. We're going to talk NBA because Kyrie Irving is headed to Dallas. And what does that mean for the Western Conference? Well,
What's it mean for the Eastern Conference?
what does it mean? Well, it's not like the Net. Well, I guess the Nets kind of were the team to beat, but the Celtics still exist. So there's that. Additionally, more hoops as the only top 25 matchup of the weekend was about as big of a dud as you could possibly have gotten, and that was Auburn, Tennessee.
Well, unless you really, really, really like defense.
I don't think anybody likes defense that much, not even Nick Saban.
Speaking of.
Exactly. We're going to talk about Nick Saban's defensive coordinator hire. Where does Miami go? They've got two coordinators now that they've got to hire, offense and defense. Notre Dame's looking for an offensive coordinator. Coaching carousel is not just at the head coaching ranks, and they kind of matter. I mean, these particularly.
Well, I don't know that they matter as much now that signing day, such as it was, has come and gone.
And you got to find a guy who fits what you got now because you can't go get anybody. So there's that.
Right.
We'll talk a little bit about the projection sports bracket is up. So we'll talk a little bit about what they think the field of 68 looks like right now.
I guess the AP Top 25 is out too.
The AP Top 25 is out. That's on the list. We'll get into that. Peyton Manning, big mad. His Pro Bowl loss to little brother Eli. And does he have a gripe? I'll tell you later in the show. No, whether he has a gripe or not.
What that tells me is that you watched.
No. I mean, if you've not seen the Twitter, it's all on Twitter about Peyton storming the field because of a rule that he thought was not applied. But I have it from about as good of an authority as you can on flag football rules. The answer to the question.
Is that kind of like women's basketball bracketologists?
There are a few out there, but we know one really well. So I sent out a text message to find out the answer. So all I'm saying is I know the answer.
I see where you're going with that.
And I will tell you the answer a little bit later.
From our flag football expert.
We've got one.
We do have one.
But we have so much more to get to, and we're going to do that as soon as we possibly can. Right now, though, we need to get you to the weekend's results and today's schedule. on the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
The Monday Rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education in Murray County. Give them a call today at 931-388-5831 or visit zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment today. Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
You're going to have to go because I can't move to my computer.
Oh, goodness.
So just go until
until you come in, huh? All right. Girls basketball action from Friday night. Gallatin defeated Beach 57-47. It was Battleground Academy 60, Providence Christian 46. Brentwood Academy. Oh God. Speaking of defense, Brentwood Academy 20, Father Ryan 19. Clarksville doubled up Rossview 46-23. It was Clarksville Academy 78, Friendship Christian 33. Henry County with a 58-42 win over Clarksville Northwest. Collinwood defeated Cullioca 60-48. Cookville 70, Mount Juliet 29, Dixon County 69-16 win over Kenwood. Moore County defeated Eagleville 70-53. It was East Robertson 48, Merrill High 31, Ezel Harding 67, STEM Academy 6, Brentwood down Franklin 64-33. Franklin Christian with a 62-35 win over Zion Christian. Loretto defeated Giles County 50-24. It was Goodpasture 50, Davidson Academy 33. Franklin Grace with a 55-45 win over Franklin Road Academy. And Lebanon defeated Green Hill 55-34.
Cheatham County 58-32 winners over Harpeth. Hendersonville down Hunters Lane 70-12. Hillsborough 58. John Overton 39. Ravenwood down Independence 49-36. It was Lawrence County 47. Tullahoma 40. Creekwood over Liberty Creek in the Battle of the Creek 65-41. It was Lincoln County 48, Page 40, Lipscomb Academy 57, St. Cecilia 47, Spring Hill down Marshall County 44-41, and Station Camp got the best of McGavock 54-39. It was Webb School 55, Middle Tennessee Christian 44. Summertown 88-13 winners over Mount Pleasant, Murfreesboro Central 56, Hume Fog 12. It was Nashville Christian 45, DCA 25. Nolansville down Centennial 48-21, Pearl Collins 63-30 winners over Stratford. Ensworth downs Prep 56-20, and Portland was a 57-30 winner over Montgomery Central. It was Richland 88, Hampshire 24, Oakland 58, Riverdale 21, Blackman 62, Siegel 30, Westmoreland 44-28 winners over Smith County, Smyrna 67, Laverne 63, Springfield 62, Clarksville Northeast 16, Sycamore 49-33 winners over Stewart County, Stewart's Creek 100, Antioch 10. Columbia Central 44-28 over Summit. It was
that score was 48-28.
Okay. Well, 48-28 over Summit. Hillwood 56-42 over Valor Collegiate. Cannon County 55-31 over Watertown. It was Wayne County 75, Santa Fe 10, Greenbrier 47, White House 40, and White House Heritage falls to Fairview 54-43.
On the boys' side, it was Beach with a 53-50 win over Gallatin. Battleground Academy defeated Providence Christian 64-54. Brentwood Academy 52, Father Ryan 40. Rossview 58, Clarksville 46. Clarksville Academy 70, Friendship Christian 40. Clarksville Northwest with a 66-46 win over Henry County. Collinwood Edge Cullioca 68-64. Cookville with a 70-56 win over Mount Juliet. Kenwood defeated Dixon County 80-75. Moore County with the 53-52 win over Eagleville. East Nashville 85, Kip Nashville 30. East Robertson 70, Merrill High 39. Ezel Harding with a 60-23 win over Mount Juliet Christian. Franklin defeats Brentwood 63-41. Franklin Christian down Zion Christian 67-54. Giles County edged Loretto 47-46. Goodpasture with a 75-62 win over Davidson Academy. Franklin Road Academy 64. Franklin Grace Christian 60. Green Hill with a 62-42 win over Lebanon. That's a bit surprising. Cheatham County 58, Harpeth 50, Hendersonville 41, Hunters Lane 39. Hillsborough defeats Overton 83-43. Independence with a 53-46 win over Ravenwood. There's coverage of that at mainstreetmurray.com. Tullahoma 87, Lawrence County 78. Whites Creek with a 65-46 win over Lead Academy. Creekwood defeated Liberty Creek 60-26. Page with a 52-45 win over Lincoln County. Marshall County defeats Spring Hill 75-46. And Montgomery Bell Academy 54. Christ Presbyterian Academy 52.
Station Camp down in McGavock 63-45 was Webb School 74, MTCS 62. Mount Pleasant, big win over Summertown 75-73.
Hayden Holt with the game winner with 2.8 seconds left.
How about that? Murfreesboro Central 61-27 over Hume Fogg. It was Nashville Christian 61, Donaldson Christian 51. Centennial downs Nolensville 53-41. And Pearl Cone was an 81-44 winner over Stratford. Ensworth downs Pope Prep 64-59. Portland 72, Montgomery Central 38, Richland 65, Hampshire 15. It was Riverdale 77-49 winners over Oakland, Siegel 50, Blackman 45, Smith County 71-59 against Westmoreland. Laverne was a 55-46 winner over Smyrna. Clarksville Northeast downs Springfield 58-34. Sycamore 68, Stewart County 56, Antioch 58, Stewart's Creek 47. Columbia Central downs Summit 54-51, and Hillwood was a 58-34 win over Valor Collegiate. Cannon County down Watertown 63-43, and Santa Fe got the best of Wayne County 52-34. It was White House 72, Greenbrier 67, and White House Heritage 53, Fairview 42.
Saturday, girls basketball action. East Robertson defeated Lead Academy 67-30. Brentwood Academy with a 40-21 win over Pope Prep. Sycamore defeated White House Heritage 61-22. Columbia Academy with a 48-24 win over University School of Nashville, during which Maddie Lewis became Columbia Academy's first 2,000-point scorer. She now has 2001. 2001. On the boys' side, it was Christ Presbyterian 64, Lipscomb Academy 60. East Robertson with a 69-39 win over Lead Academy. Giles County defeated Lewis County 71-58. White House Heritage defeated Sycamore 51-40. And University School of Nashville with a 58-53 win over Columbia Academy. Women's basketball action on Saturday. Texas San Antonio completed the Texas two-step over Middle Tennessee State, 58-53. Lipscomb with an 87-82 win over Bellarmine. Eastern Illinois defeated Tennessee State 75-58. Austin Peay 82. Eastern Kentucky 69. Georgia, this was yesterday, right?
Yes.
Okay. Georgia yesterday defeated Vanderbilt 79-61. Belmont with a 68-54 win over Bradley. Trevecca defeated Ohio Dominican on Saturday 68-63. Cumberland with a 50-39 win over UT Southern. Fisk got a weekend sweep 77-58 over Tougaloo. 64-57 over Dillard, and 75-58 over Wiley. So congratulations to the Lady Bulldogs. In junior college women's basketball action over the weekend, Cleveland State defeated Vol State 76-40, and Walter State defeated Columbia State 91-33.
In men's action, Tennessee edges Auburn 46-43. Vanderbilt edges Ole Miss 74-71. Queens edges Austin Peay 70-69.
I'm detecting a theme here. Yeah.
Tennessee State just barely over Eastern Illinois 65-61, and Belmont with the blowout of Illinois State 90-75. Lipscomb downs Liberty 69-64. That's a big win there. And Middle Tennessee State gets an 84-59 win over Texas San Antonio. Trevecca 51. Ohio Dominican 44. How about them Trojans?
What's that? Snap a 19 or 20 game losing streak?
A lot
for the Trojans.
Bunch. At least 19.
A bunch. They had not won since their first game of the year. So, congratulations to the Trojans.
UT Southern with a layup at the horn to beat Cumberland 66-64, and the final score still not on the Phoenix website. So just throwing that out there.
If we don't acknowledge it, then it didn't happen.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, Fisk goes 1-2 down at Tougaloo. They lost 69-60 to the hosts. Dillard gets them 72-67, but they finished the weekend with a 63-60 win over Wiley. In junior college play, Vol State downs Cleveland State 57-53, and in overtime, Columbia State 82, Walter State 80. On NBA side, the Grizzlies fall
yet again.
Yeah, and this was a comeback. I mean, Toronto had to come back in the fourth quarter to win, and did 106-103 over the Grizzlies.
Wow. today's high school basketball schedule, these are all double headers, all starting with the girls at 6, these are all double headers, all starting with the girls at 6. Henry County is at Clarksville, Cornersville is at Eagleville, East Robertson hosts Greenbrier, Hampshire hosts Frank Hughes, Joe Burns goes to Knowledge Academies, Lawrence County is at Lincoln County, Watertown hosts Trousdale County, Mount Pleasant travels to Wayne County, Springfield is at West Creek, and Riverside Christian comes to Zion Academy. Zion Christian Academy. There we go. In a women's only game, girls only game. St. Cecilia is at Merrill High. That's a 6 o'clock start as well. And in women's basketball action tonight at 6 o'clock on SEC Network, unranked Tennessee travels to Starkville, taking on the Lady Bulldogs of Mississippi State at the Hump. And this is your rundown.
We were so close to being able to get that. This is the rundown right at the end.
Yeah.
So close. Yeah. Men's basketball action, a lot of close games.
Jeez. Yeah.
It was crazy, but exciting stuff there. Exciting stuff. Top story, not sports related at all, except that
you can see them at plenty of
sporting events. That's right. It's kind of like golf isn't a sport, but we still talk about it on here. Justin's mad right now. He's like, golf is a sport. No, it's not.
I'm an athlete, though.
Sure. I'm not saying it's not an athletic event. It is an athletic event. It's just not a sport. There's a difference. The aristocrat of bands.
Yes.
Now, for those of you who are interested in the linguistics of that, aristocrat. They
singular.
Because they are one unit. So I need you to understand that. Of all bands, they are the aristocrat.
The aristocrat.
And now they can back it up, Mo.
They are the Grammy-winning aristocrat of bands. Absolutely.
How cool is that?
That's pretty dang. They took home a trophy. Now I wonder how they're going to handle that. I mean, are they going to make like replicas for everybody or what?
I know nominees get a medal, so I don't know how that works.
That'd be pretty special. TSU Aristocrat of Bands was nominated in the Best Roots Gospel Album category for the album The Urban Hymnal. They were the first college marching band to receive a nomination in this category in the history of the Grammys, and thus they are the first college marching band to receive a Grammy in this category. So that's solid.
It really is. You know, it's Sarah and I were talking about this yesterday. We know people who have become famous since we got here. Lainey Wilson, Ashley McBride, some of those folks. But, you know, you don't understand the length and the expansion of music talent in Middle Tennessee unless you really think about it. This is a Grammy-winning marching band that has played at Lindsey Nelson Stadium in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's freaking cool.
Their album, The Urban Hymnal, according to the article I'm reading on newschannel5.com, combines two genres of music popular in African American culture. And this is a big deal, man. I mean, this is something that these kids are going to be able to take with them for the rest of their lives. And it's something that, you know, we talk about athletic programs and coaches being able to go out and recruit and that kind of thing. You think you can't go in a kid's house or go to a band room at some high school here in Middle Tennessee or anywhere else and say, you know, you want to come march with a Grammy-winning band.
It's pretty cool. That's
Come on to the Hoe.
Not everybody can say that.
No.
And
Only one.
that's right. Only one can say that. So it's pretty neat. So congratulations to Tennessee State and the Aristocrat of Bands. Huge honor, and it's just neat to see the diversity of music that we have in Middle Tennessee being recognized.
Oh, yeah. And that's, I think that's really huge. And I appreciate you saying it, because there are so many people that think country music when they think of Nashville, and they think that because that's the perception that is put out there.
And it does create the lion's share of the music in this town. There's no question there, but that doesn't mean
not all.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that there aren't great musicians in every pocket. By the way, not only did I graduate with 56 people, Mo, a guy who was in my 5-person friend group was nominated for a Grammy this weekend. And he, lived up until last year when he moved to Dahlonega, Georgia, lived in Hendersonville, is with Karen Peck and New River. And, it's crazy because, he's Karen Peck lives here. She's Christian gospel artist. I mean, it's so many different, just great folks in every kind of music that you can think of right here in Middle Tennessee. And we are lucky to have all of them.
Absolutely.
Here. I mean, it's cool. I love listening to TSU's band.
What?
To hear them again. And the intro after this is going to be, let's take a break. Standing by NBA right after this. Stick around.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Mo, tough weekend again for the Grizzlies, and I'm telling you, man, it's been crazy. I can't.
It really has. I mean, since they went on that big win streak and then they got beat.
I think they've won one game since the win streak. One.
And again, I mean, they've had some injuries to deal with. Steven Adams has been out for an extended period of time and continues to be out. But, man, I mean, when it comes right down to it, there's no excuses.
You can't beat up in the fourth quarter and not win.
Yeah, you got to man up.
But that's not the biggest news out of the NBA.
No, it's not.
And
let me tell you how I heard it. So I was working tournament games yesterday over at Lipscomb Elementary, and I just happened to be on the bleacher side during a stoppage in play, and somebody just said, Kyrie to the Mavs. And I'm like, what? So, yeah, Kyrie just got traded, which, I mean, it had been bubbling up all weekend since he made the demand that, y'all need to move me. But, yeah, Sunday about 2:30, 3 o'clock, I guess. This was when I heard it at a junior pro basketball game.
Well, I got the notification on my phone with a already photoshopped photo of Kyrie
Kyrie
in
in
a
a
Mavs
Mavs jersey?
jersey. Of course, the internet is fantastic. But to talk about those couple of things and maybe more, we have our resident NBA expert, Landon SECREST, joining us. Landon, what's up, buddy?
Nothing much. I mean, this news is just crazy. I'm still shocked a day later after the trade news. I'm an NBA fan, and me is excited for this, but I'm still kind of lost for words.
Yeah. What were you hearing, Landon, leading up to, Kyrie letting the Nets know, hey, I want out, and then the process of him getting to Dallas?
I mean, we obviously know, KD's been out and the Nets have been playing without him, and they had a 43-point loss to the Celtics, I believe, and they weren't playing bad basketball, but they weren't playing good at the same time, but they were missing their star players. So I really don't know what prompted Kyrie to, request a trade, but at the same time, once he made that request, everybody immediately thought Lakers and reuniting with LeBron, and then Phoenix with Devin Booker being out, him coming back, that could be a good tandem too. And then all of a sudden it's the Mavericks and Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Just saying that in the same sentence is scary. And I don't know if Kyrie envisioned going to Dallas, but I mean, it's a scary thought for the rest of the league.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I got into a bit of a discussion over the weekend with someone who, basically said that Kyrie going to the Mavericks wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't going to make a huge difference in the Western Conference. And the fact is that Luka is possibly the best player in the conference. And I got pretty well dragged for saying that as if Steph Curry is somehow better. And I'm like, Steph Curry doesn't have half the numbers in the last 5 years that Luka's had. So he at one time Steph was, but this is a team with probably the best player in the conference. Now getting a guy who can do both, play the one or the two, just like Luka. I mean, is this team now the favorite?
I mean, you look at the backcourt just based off of that. I mean, Kyrie and Luka, that's pretty much 30 apiece coming from each of them every night. And who else gets involved? They got Christian Wood, Dwight Powell. I mean, they've got some pieces around that can kind of contribute as well. But it's going to be the main thing with Luka and Kyrie. And I mean, it's scary to see how they can ascend with the addition of Kyrie. I mean, the Nuggets are at the top, the Kings, Clippers, they're all up there at the top. The Grizzlies are up there, but the Mavs are around 6th right now. And I mean, we'll see how they fare with Kyrie and if they kind of make a run and make that push for the top spot.
Speaking with our NBA expert, Landon SECREST, you can find him on Twitter at Seco, SECO Sports. Here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Landon, should there be a concern from the standpoint? Now, Kyrie has played the Robin role before. I'm sorry, it's Seco_sports too, not Seco Sports. But Kyrie has kind of played the Robin role before, with LeBron, with KD. So shouldn't necessarily be a problem with him playing Robin to Doncic's Batman, but Luka hasn't necessarily had a player to play alongside him the caliber of Kyrie to this point. I mean, how much getting used to that is that going to take for Luka, and how tough is that going to be?
I think it's really going to be a challenge because the best player we've probably seen Luka with as a co-star was Kristaps Porzingis, and he got traded away, and that was kind of a failed experiment. They didn't really blend together, so it's going to be interesting to see how Luka fares with another ball-dominant person. He's played with Jalen Brunson when he was on the Mavericks, but Jalen Brunson is no Kyrie Irving. And it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of blend who gets the shots, who's the main facilitator on offense, and, who has the ball last when it's a time to make a buzzer-beating shot, game-winning shot, who has the ball.
There is a quote out there from former teammate of Kyrie's, LeBron James, basically saying, why didn't he want to come here? Is it my fault? Is it me? And I'm curious, is it LeBron? Or was it just a bad trade option? I mean, did you just not want Russell Westbrook on the team? Or maybe did Kevin Durant not want Russell Westbrook on the team?
His team?
There's a lot of things that go into that. Is that why are the Lakers not putting Kyrie on the court this weekend with them?
It was very shocking to read that tweet from LeBron James saying, maybe it's me. And I mean, in this case, it might actually be LeBron. I mean, we've been kind of rumoring the reunion of those two, LeBron and Kyrie, for a long time. But, the stars really haven't aligned. And, you just mentioned KD. Does he want to play with Russ again? And does a team want to take on Russ's contract? That's another factor.
Does the team want to take on Russ?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's all those factors. I mean, the Lakers are kind of just in an unfortunate position that they can't make that many moves, although they probably need to be in contention.
Did the Mavericks give up too much?
I think they're going to feel the loss of Spencer Dinwiddie and definitely Dorian Finney-Smith, because he's a phenomenal, great piece, 3-and-D wing, and he's a very solid piece in my opinion. And Dinwiddie was kind of filling that role that Brunson left once he went for the Knicks. He was averaging around 17 points a game, kind of being that second scorer with Luka, and they're going to miss that. But obviously you sub in somebody like Kyrie, and you're not going to flinch too much on the offensive end, at least they hope. But they're definitely going to miss those two pieces. And, I mean, they traded away some picks as well. Picks were involved in the trade. So, I mean, it's going to take some getting used to for the Mavericks. But I think they're going to be better off with Kyrie Irving.
Okay.
Can they push for one of the top 4 spots in the West?
If the Grizzlies keep losing.
Most definitely. I think they can. Firepower in the backcourt is probably going to lead them. I mean, Luka had that phenomenal playoff run. He's been mixing that up the past few years in the playoffs, giving it to him, the Clippers especially, and some other teams. But Kyrie's been there before. So who knows what can happen if they make a push and get into the playoffs and get into a good position. I mean, they might be a sleeper. I mean, it's not much to sleep about with Luka and Kyrie on the team, but, they might sneak up on some people.
Meanwhile, what does this do to the Nets?
The Nets, it's kind of upsetting as a Nets fan with KD. I'm a KD supporter, so seeing kind of the failed experiment of James Harden and Kyrie moving forward after that. I mean, what do you do? Obviously, Kevin Durant is a top player in the league. And, you still have a Ben Simmons piece. You have Dinwiddie who's coming back to Brooklyn. I mean, they're still a solid team because they're going to be better with Kevin Durant back. But they're worse without Kyrie Irving, quite frankly. And I think that it's going to take some adjusting for them as well. But they're going to still have KD. So I don't think they're going to flinch as much. But just looking on this experiment of Harden and the big three and Kyrie now gone and KD requesting the trade as well, it's just kind of leaves you wondering with the Brooklyn Nets organization as a whole.
Meanwhile, Landon, as Chris has alluded to, Memphis has followed up its 11-game losing streak by going 1-11, I think it is. Their only win here in the last, let's see, what's this? Yeah, 1-9, excuse me. Their only win being over India.
Darn, you missed it.
My bad. Sorry.
Don't make it worse than it is.
Exactly. The only win coming on January 29th against Indiana. So, I mean, they basically just negated that 11-game win streak.
Pretty much.
What is the situation with them? Is it as simple as not having Adams? I don't think it is, but what? You're the expert. What do you think?
I think it's easy to go on a run within a game in the NBA and any level of basketball. And I think it comes down to wins and losses like that too. I mean, you can get on a hot streak and then, things might just not go your way for a couple of games. And unfortunately for the Grizzlies, it's turned into 9 losses and 1 win in a span of 10 games. But I mean, they still have Ja, they still have Bane, So, I mean, they're still in the second slot in the Western Conference, obviously behind the Nuggets. So I don't think there's much to panic about. Obviously, they want to be back in the win column consistently, but as long as they have Ja, I think they're in a good position in the West to kind of push for the title and be a top team in the West.
Well, despite going 1-9, they're still right there with,
32-21 after that loss yesterday to Toronto,
but still second in the Western Conference, I believe. So, I mean, they're still right there. They have an opportunity. It's wild. Now, have you heard this situation with Ja's buddies and getting banned from the arena for a year after pointing a red laser pointer into the Raptors bus or something?
Yes.
This is nuts. This is the craziest story I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's very crazy. I don't know how stuff like this allegedly happens. I mean, gets out on social media, stories created. I mean, it's just a lot to wrap my head around, along with, the Kyrie situation. It's just these two situations would kind of be the talking point of the week so far in the NBA.
It's so nuts. So apparently they were shining red laser lights into the bus after the game. Now, the story I read just said members of Ja's entourage. I mean, it was Ja wasn't with them, was
it's
he?
always the entourage, man.
Exactly. It's just the entourage.
Ask Mike Vick.
Anyway. Yeah. A security guard with the Indiana Pacers accused associates of Memphis Grizzlies guard Ja Morant of training a red laser attached to a gun on members of the team's traveling party following a verbal altercation after a January 29th game.
You can't do that.
No, you can't.
How insane has this week been, man? So anyway, Landon, looking forward to this is kind of the time where rubber meets the road in the NBA. Do you foresee any other major splash moves before the deadline?
I feel like everyone is expecting, and like we mentioned before, LeBron wants the Lakers to make a move. All the passive-aggressive tweets that he makes and all the innuendos. I mean, the Lakers need to make a move, whether it's involving, AD. They ideally want to move Russ. I think they need to make a move. This team, although they have LeBron, I don't think they're going to win the championship. I don't think anybody thinks they're the downright favorite. So I'd probably say the Lakers are definitely a team to watch, but a sleeper team is somebody like Phoenix. Devin Booker's been out. Do they want to make a push once he comes back? Trading, an aging CP3 who's kind of regressed, although they made the finals a few years ago. So a team like the Suns could be a sleeper, acquiring somebody to get in the backcourt, be a star alongside Devin Booker. I think that's a team to watch.
There you go. Landon Secrest, Seco_sports on Twitter. Landon, appreciate your time as always. It's good times for the NBA right now.
Yes, it is. Thank you both.
All right. Appreciate you, Landon.
We'll take a break, and when we come back, we've got some college football to get into. We'll over the weekend, Nick Saban hired a defensive coordinator. What does that mean for the other teams that he hired them from, and much, much more. So stick around on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Be back after this.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in. I like that with a little. It's Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow, Mo Patton. We've got some reacting to do. We talked a little bit about the offensive coordinator hire on Friday, Mo, but over the weekend, Nick Saban chose his defensive coordinator, which is his former defensive coordinator,
Twice former.
Kevin Steele. Steele comes to him from Miami, where he was the defensive coordinator for the Hurricanes. My question is, one, is this a good hire?
I want to know what your other question is, because I've got one as well.
The other question, is this a rental? Is this a stopgap?
That wasn't my other question. My other question is, what's going on in Miami?
Well, here's the thing. Kevin still has a bit of a reputation. And I don't think that he's waiting on Nick Saban to retire so he can be the Alabama coach. He's too old. But I also don't think, I don't know what his thoughts are. Now, Miami fired its offensive coordinator.
Okay.
But I don't know. I guess maybe Steele's chasing a ring, potentially.
I guess my question is, what is with all the unsettledness?
There's a lot
in Miami.
Well, and that's kind of, Mario Cristobal, after year one, firing a guy who 2 years ago was the heir apparent to Jim Harbaugh and the Broyles Award winner, and fires him after 1 year.
Right. I mean,
that doesn't seem normal.
No, it doesn't seem normal. It seems desperate. So maybe Steele's getting out ahead of the posse. I don't know. But back to your first question, is this a good hire? And I said this last week when we were talking about Tommy Rees coming in as offensive coordinator. I don't think Alabama fans love this hire. I don't think Alabama fans love that hire, although I did see a tweet over the weekend that kind of made me think. Tommy Rees, I guess, was the lead recruiter for Ty Simpson when he was at Notre Dame. So I don't know if there's any tea leaves to read there in terms of the quarterback situation at Alabama for next year or not, but Rees and Simpson have a history. I don't know if that had anything to do with him coming in or if it's just a nice little sidelight.
Who will beat Alabama longer, Ty Simpson or Kevin Steele? Because this could be a one-year rental, but it could also be a let me parlay this into an office gig that I can, show up for practice and not have to do anything else, but still add to my retirement fund.
Yeah, because from what I understand, that's one of the knocks on Steele is that he ain't big on recruiting.
No, he doesn't want to go out but Tommy Rees is a pretty good one. I understand.
Yeah. So
I'm just interested in this hire, one, because a lot of Alabama fans don't like it because, well, Kirby Smart was promoted to defensive coordinator after 2007 over him. They were both co-defensive coordinators in 2007 when Alabama went 6-6 and lost to Louisiana Monroe or whatever, 5-7, 6-6, something like that. I don't know. And then Smart got the full-time gig. And since that time, Steele's been kind of bouncing around. He's the one who allegedly started the coup of Brian Harsin last year. Nearly got
allegedly. I'm glad you threw that on there.
Nearly got thrust into the Auburn head coaching job on an interim basis, and probably that may have been what he wanted. I don't know. I don't think that's the case here, but
I'd hope not.
Yeah, it's not. You're going to have a bad time if it is. But this is a weird situation. I think it is a stopgap. But if it is a stopgap and Nick Saban can't find somebody to run his defense, what's the problem?
Well, I mean, what makes you think it's a stopgap move?
I don't think he's going to be there long term. Again, he doesn't want to recruit.
Saban knows that.
This is not a 5-year gig for him. I don't think.
Maybe it's not a 5-year gig for the head coach either.
Well, and maybe not, but even still, you can't just leave the program in shambles after 3 years. And that's probably what's going to happen if Kevin Steele is your defensive coordinator and you don't have a guy out there recruiting defensive players. I mean, that's why the question I have is, if this is a stopgap, why can't Nick Saban hire a defensive coordinator? Why was he forced to settle essentially for Tommy Rees?
That's a question that I think Alabama fans are fair in asking, I guess. I don't want to necessarily say have a right to ask, because, again, I think bottom line is, and it's Saban, I think he deserves a little grace.
Why would you not want to be the coordinator at Alabama? Don't you think being a coordinator at Alabama would set you up? If you think Nick Saban's retiring in the next 5 years, wouldn't it set you up to be the next guy if you're successful?
I don't know that it would, because I don't know that they're going to stay on staff for that.
Listen,
spot.
They did with DuBose after Stallings. They didn't with Perkins.
And we see how that worked, right?
They didn't with Perkins. They went to New York and got Perkins from the Giants. But they've seen how that plays out. You got to go get a guy. You got to go get the guy.
Well, and the thing is, we're both familiar enough with sports and sports history that you don't want to be the guy following the guy or the gal.
Unless you're already the guy, or at least in the conversation. You know what I mean?
I think we've seen that fail too many times as well, though. I mean, look at Knoxville. It's a different sport, obviously, but look at Pat Summitt and Holly Warlick.
Yeah, but Holly was semi-successful. But I mean, she wasn't winning national championships. I'm talking about
selling winning SEC championships. I want you to sell that to the UT Lady Ball fan base.
I'm saying you got to go get somebody who is in the national championship conversation.
Absolutely. You've got to go get somebody that there's no argument. Yes, this is the guy to replace Nick Saban. And other than Kirby Smart, and why is he going to leave his alma mater? I mean, I don't know who that is. I thought it was Dabo, but I think that ship has sailed.
I think that ship has sailed too.
So I don't know who it is.
You might have to go outside of the South. You might have to go get somebody who Kyle Whittingham type, or
what kind of cachet does Steve Sarkisian have?
That was the first name that popped in my head. But do you leave Texas for Alabama? I mean, if you can't win national championships at Texas in the Big 12, you certainly can't win them in the SEC. I don't think.
But you'd have a better chance at winning them at Alabama in the SEC than you would at Texas in the SEC.
You think?
Yeah.
I mean, based off of they're essentially on the same level field as far as support goes. So if you can't do it at Texas, what makes you think you can do it at Alabama?
It's a good question.
I don't know.
Is it Lane?
I think Lane Kiffin's going to be in the conversation. I don't know that he should be, but I think he's going to be.
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily know who should be.
I mean, there are no Nick Sabans out there.
No.
There are no.
And so anybody is a projection.
There aren't any coaches, even at the professional level.
And I mean, there's nobody that, I mean, there's nobody out there coaching right now that you just say, that's the guy. Lincoln Riley?
That was name number 2. Those are the two names, Steve Sarkisian and Lincoln Riley. But here's the thing. And Riley had more success at USC last year than I expected him to have, even with Caleb Williams.
But he didn't have a whole lot of success at Oklahoma.
But
when it was all set up for him.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a difference. I mean, I think he was recruiting to the Big 12 style. Still made a couple college football playoffs. If he had SEC athletes, I think he probably competes. And they nearly beat Georgia in that double overtime game. So there's that. I think Lincoln Riley is a guy that Alabama would try to potentially hire. I think he'd be on the short list. I think Lane Kiffin's on the short list. I'm trying to think of guys who have left the college game to go to the pro level and haven't been necessarily as successful as they were at the college level, et cetera. I just
similar to Saban.
There aren't any Saban guys out there, and it's wild. And do you know why there aren't any Nick Saban guys out there? Because of Nick Saban. Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, and Dabo Swinney have won almost every national championship in the last decade. Those are the guys.
Yeah.
And they've got their jobs. One of them's leaving. You can't hire him because he's quitting.
Right. Yeah.
You only have two other guys.
And I don't think either of those other guys is coming.
No.
And I don't even know if Alabama wants Dabo at this point.
At this point, they don't. I think
they would love to get Kirby, but he ain't coming.
He's not.
So
it's interesting.
It's very interesting.
Mo, let me pull up this article that I have listed here.
Let me throw this at you. When he comes back from Thailand, what about Cliff Kingsbury?
I mean, he was pretty successful at Texas Tech.
What about Urban Meyer?
No, he's done.
No, he never.
He's
coaches
he's too old. I know he doesn't seem it, but he is. He's too old. I mean, I don't know that Alabama could handle Cliff Kingsbury, which is one reason I don't know that they can handle Lane Kiffin. I think Lane Kiffin's personality fits Ole Miss really well because they don't lose parties. He doesn't fit at Alabama.
No, they want somebody a little more stoic, a little more even keeled, a little less attention seeking than Lane.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so,
but you can't really argue with the success that they had while he was in Tuscaloosa either.
No.
And he's the quarterback whisperer.
And this is a quarterback game.
Boom. So I mean, you have to consider him, and then you have to decide whether everything that comes with Lane Kiffin fits in Tuscaloosa in a head coaching role. You could deal with it as an offensive coordinator because he could only do so much because he was the offensive coordinator.
When I start thinking, and we're off in the weeds on this because Nick Saban's not retiring this year. He's not retiring next year. He's probably sorry about that, Justin. Where did we leave off?
I'm not sure, but it's good to have you back, fellas.
Well, it's good to be back.
Anyway,
I just wish we knew when we left.
Well,
because we were saying some pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know why. I mean, you have to ask D'Amico Ryan. Ryan.
Yes, D'Amico Ryan. Maybe.
I'm
suddenly
not sure.
I think it's Ryan's.
I think it is Ryan's.
D'Amico Ryan's.
With an S. Yes. I certainly have to ask if you're Alabama, but I think you also have to be ready for him to say no. Yeah. Because with everything else that he had going on, with all the circles that he was being discussed in, why is he coming to work for Nick Saban?
Right.
Or anybody. And I know it's home, but why? What did he have to gain from that? So,
did they call Joe Brady? You know, and Joe Brady is a name that's been thrown around for Notre Dame. Another name being thrown around at Notre Dame, which I thought was interesting, is Byron Leftwich. But when you get fired in the NFL, you usually end up with a job somewhere.
I've not heard a lot out of the Notre Dame search, but I would not be surprised if you hear the name Josh Gaddis either.
Well, you know, again, I think Gaddis brings the type of offense that Notre Dame could get behind. It's more pro style. Mm-hmm. It's not really a Miami type offense.
Right.
But Byron Leftwich in Miami might be interesting.
It just feels like to me, speaking of stopgap and short timers and that kind of thing, I'm not sure things are working out in Miami.
It's been 1 year.
Hey, right?
Listen, Miami needs to calm down. Because they just had a fantastic recruiting class. They are changing their offensive style, it appears, to be more wide open, as they should. And yes, they lost their defensive coordinator, but he's old. He's an old guy.
What you got against old guys?
I mean, it's not what you want in Miami.
No.
Miami is a personality-driven
program.
Yeah. It's not Kevin Steele.
No, it's not.
So you've got to find guys who are going to get folks excited.
And Kevin Steele's not.
And Kevin Steele's not going to do that because he wants to stay in his office all day.
Right.
You don't even want to leave to go recruit, much less get out and do it in the community. So yeah, to me, I think a Byron Leftwich would be the type of guy you would want. I think, you got to go get a defensive coordinator who's going to, fire up some crowds because they certainly ain't getting any crowds there right now.
Hello.
So anyway, we didn't get to half the stuff I wanted to get to in that segment, but that's okay.
It's a long week.
I am curious where Miami and Notre Dame go, and I do have some lists, so we can get to them later. But we need to get to Blake Lovell from Southeastern 14. He's standing by, talk a little SEC hoops, so we're going to do that on the other side of a break. So you guys stick around with us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll be back after this.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
It's time to get tickets for the Nash Vegas Casino Night at Auction presented by King Jewelers. It's Wednesday, February the 8th at Bridgestone Arena. This year's theme is reverse retro, so break out the Musters jerseys and Y2K fashion. Challenge Roman Yossi to a game of blackjack, or join Ryan McDonough as he rolls the dice at the craps table. Mix and mingle with the players and Preds personalities while bidding on auction items and tasting food from local restaurants. All proceeds benefit the Preds Foundation. Visit NashvillePredators.com/gala.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yow, Mo Patton here on this beautiful Monday. Gosh, it's so nice outside. It's couldn't be nicer. It's going to be nice all week long in the afternoon. So when we get out of here, it's going to be the perfect temperature. We can just leave and not be mad at all this week. It's going to be such a good time. I'm
go and roll the windows down.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good week. We're going to talk a little SEC hoops because it was not a great weekend in SEC hoops. So let's just be honest.
Depending on who you ask.
Well, I mean, just as a fan of the conference, if you were watching with no rooting interest other than college basketball, you go bleh. So we talked to Blake Lovell now, who joins us from Southeastern14.com. Blake, is the SEC just not good at basketball?
I was about to say, Chris, just tell us how you really feel. Like, how do you really feel about some of this? Like,
it's just,
I mean, look, it's
Blake. What you have to realize is Chris is that guy sitting out in the outfield seats in Major League, the Cleveland Indians fan.
Yeah,
they'll blow it tonight.
Yeah, he's going to find the worst of any situation. But, leading off with that 46-43 debacle at Thompson Bowling.
Yeah. Look, I think, and it's funny because Chris Lee and I were talking about this morning. It was like we sort of should have expected, I think, the way some of these games played out this weekend. And I think we got a little too excited about actually seeing some consistent offense in the league earlier last week. And so we're just kind of looking at it and wondering, well, maybe that's going to be the same thing here. But really, when you looked at the matchups like Tennessee and Auburn, we're like, we should have expected this to be such a low scoring type game because the problem for both teams all season has been neither has shown any consistent shooting. And when they combine to go 5 for 48 from 3, that's just an absurd number. But you are also talking about probably two of the top 12, 15 defensive teams in the country. One team that's on pace historically to shatter all sorts of records in Tennessee. So it was not pretty at all. There's no other way to put it. And I just think those are two teams that matchup wise are going to produce probably not to that extreme type of game all the time. But in all honesty, if you play that game 10 times, I don't know that the majority of them don't play out the exact same way, honestly, guys.
Well, I did expect the low scoring affair, as I told folks on Friday to bet the under. The over-under in that game was 137.5, by the way. And I don't know if Vegas was
drunk.
On drugs or what when they made that line, but they were giving money away.
they were printing money on that one if you hammered the under. Yeah, because, I don't know if they could have got to that in 2.
Yeah.
But that's the one, Blake, as you look through Saturday's score, that one sticks out like a sore thumb, really. Everybody else scored like normal college basketball games, particularly the Commodores.
Yeah. Well, it was Auburn played the 43-42 game against Northwestern earlier this year. And I said earlier in that Tennessee game, this is going to be it. Like, this is going to be the same game. Like, you can tell right away. Those two teams got to figure some things out offensively. Like on the Vanderbilt front, for Vanderbilt, it's like it's a good win because it's not a loss, and it's a way to bounce back from a 57-point loss, right? And that's the thing again, isn't it? Like they lost by 57 earlier in the week to Alabama, as we know, and just one of the more. It's inexcusable. There's no other word to use, but I thought just bouncing back and winning from that because you guys know you've seen it before, and a team lose a game like that, third worst SEC loss ever, something like that. It can go south very quickly. And the fact that they did actually bounce back and win against another team, which I know Ole Miss is struggling, but it's something. It accounts for something, I think. And so I'll give them that. Liam Robbins, I think, is still very, very good. And, maybe it's a what-if game, going back to last year and this year if he's not injured for different stretches and all this other stuff. But, yeah, it's just, as we kind of said earlier, too, it's like it's hard to get excited about just because it's a win over Ole Miss, but I don't know exactly what you're building on for the future at this very moment. So,
Blake, what I said coming out of Vanderbilt, Alabama, and what Jerry Stackhouse said that night was, wrong place, wrong time. Alabama had just gotten hammered out at Oklahoma by 24. And so you knew that they were going to be pissed off coming into that game. And Vanderbilt was just powerless to do anything about it. And then when they knocked down 19 threes, there's just – you don't have a whole lot of avenues to respond to that. But like you said, I think the fact that they bounced back and did not lose again, even though it was Ole Miss, I think that says something, I think.
Yeah. It has to account for something. And I think, again, we've seen too many other cases in the past where you will see stuff like this where, and look, I'm not saying there may be other teams in the SEC that kind of, look at a team like South Carolina, completely different than Vanderbilt. South Carolina, just from a number standpoint, is a historically bad SEC team this season. But it's like, all right, well, how do they respond to just getting beat up all the time by everybody? Well, they almost beat Arkansas on Saturday. And so, you look at Vanderbilt, And I mean, there's not a team in the SEC that's had worse luck than Vanderbilt the past 8 years, just based on injuries and all this other stuff. And certainly we know all the stuff that's been discussed this season, looking at, just the nature of the roster, Jerry Steckhouse's future, all this other stuff. Like, it's all been discussed a lot. But, kind of up until that Alabama game, the one common theme was you could always expect Vanderbilt to sort of be there in the game. And that's why I think, in a sense, the Alabama game was so surprising, is even against the good teams, like, they had kept it close. I mean, they went to Knoxville, played well. Went to A&M, played well. Missouri almost beat Missouri at Missouri. Like, all these other games you can point at, and it's just like they're there, but they're not all the way there. And I just think that at some point, you get to a point where it's like, what's the next step as the program? And yes, like, maybe just responding after losing the way they lost, last Tuesday is one right step in the right direction. But I think it's still just the overall picture of, I don't know exactly what that program looks like next season. And then beyond, is this kind of where things are, or this is kind of the stuff that you can hang your hat on and not really the stuff that's maybe going to push you to that into that next tier of the SEC, because, that's just kind of where Vanderbilt is after bottoming out a couple years ago.
Speaking with Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14 here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Blake, to Chris's point, is the SEC just not very good? It sounded like a little bit of a joke to some degree, but looking at this week's AP Top 25 that just came out a few hours ago, Alabama's at number 3, Tennessee's at number 6, and that's it for the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah. I mean, here, I'll say this, guys, and if you look at like the bracket projections and all that, there are 2 teams that are safe, and that's the 2 teams you just mentioned. And I know people don't believe me when I say even teams like Auburn can play their way out of this thing. Like, they're not in a protected range yet. Like, they're a 7 seed, maybe an 8 seed. And we still got 8+ games to go. So, like, the likelihood of it happening are not high. I think Auburn's going to make the tournament. I think, that group of Missouri, A&M, Kentucky, Florida, Arkansas, maybe Mississippi State, I think probably at least 3 of those teams make the tournament. But could we be saying, hey, Alabama and Tennessee are their top 2 seeds, but then everybody else is like an 8 seed, 9 seed or lower, and maybe you got 3 SEC teams that are in that final, last 4 in. Maybe there are 3 SEC teams in the last 4 in. I think it's entirely possible. So it's just, you don't have the high level elite teams that in recent years, I think we've had like a group of 4, a group of 5 that you looked at and said, those are all top 5 seeds. This year you got 2. And I think anyone else that gets in the top 5 will need to make a huge run the rest of the season, because I just don't see it happening. And again, even the top 7 seed range may be generous. So it's just been a struggle. And I think the non-conference portion really hurt the SEC, because I think there were so many big win opportunities that were left on the table in the non-conference portion, and now it's just kind of catching up with you.
And then the Big 12 SEC challenge didn't help any either, I don't guess.
No. Well, and I mean, now it's like, you think about what that can do for you from a resume standpoint, and of course now it goes away, and the SEC goes into the challenge with the ACC starting next year. I don't know what that's going to do for you outside of maybe the top couple of teams, because, I mean, as you guys know, we talk about the SEC's maybe struggling. The ACC is just an absolute, like, that conference is bad as in relation to what it was, that conference is not doing a whole lot for anybody from a strength or resume standpoint right now. So, yeah, that's something else to think about.
How big are those wins over Iowa State and TCU now for the SEC, though? Because, Kentucky lost, and Florida lost, and, Alabama lost, and Auburn lost, and Arkansas lost. But you got 2 random teams who got wins over top 12 opponents in the Big 12. So, it does kind of go the other way, too, is like, well, it wasn't like they were flukes. One of them was by 17. I mean, Missouri beat the brakes off Iowa State.
Yeah. Well, and I think again, especially for like a team like Missouri, because you look at kind of they've had an interesting season. They haven't been great away from home, but they've got some good wins, right? I mean, they've beaten Iowa State now. They've beaten Illinois, Kentucky, Arkansas, Mississippi State. I mean, Mississippi State started 1-7 in the league, right? It's just like you look at kind of where they were starting 1-7 and needing that TCU game. Now, that I'm saying I have things fall in their favor, but TCU's best player gets injured, 3 or 4 minutes into the game, and that kind of changes the outlook. But like that is something where for Mississippi State, they are still in the NCAA tournament conversation, even at 3-7 in the league. Now they got to get, I think, to at least 500 to stay there, maybe 8-10, and win a couple games in the SEC tournament. But those are the kind of games you just got to have, and that's where like when you look at Mississippi State, you look at A&M. A&M, I think, is a great example of this, guys. I mean, A&M just had some bad losses in non-conference play. And who's the team we talked about last year as the team that's kind of, everybody's wondering were they left out? Was it right or wrong that they were left out? Well, when you looked at their non-conference schedule last year, it was Texas A&M, and I think they could be in the same exact position this season. Right now, they're 8-2 in the league, though. That's the difference. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just the non-conference portion. We always people think it's just, something that gears you up for conference play, but it's so much more important than that when you look at just your win opportunities and the net rankings and all this other stuff that goes into building a tournament now. Those things are way more important. And you look back on them and think, oh, yeah, that was actually a bad loss or a great win. Sometimes you just can't do your work in conference play. You have to do it outside of it. And some teams just weren't able to do that this season.
Going back to that Vanderbilt Ole Miss game, who's on the hotter seat? It's got to be Kermit, right? He lost.
I would think so. Just because, I mean, there's a difference too, obviously, is they're 1-9 and Vanderbilt's 4-6 in the conference. And, there's another team, talking about injury luck. I mean, they, and again, we could probably play this for coaches throughout the past 5 decades, but it's like they have had some bad injury luck the past several seasons. I mean, last year, I don't know if there was another team that was decimated by injuries more than Ole Miss. This season, Matthew Morrell, their best player, has been out. Deshaun Ruffin probably would have been their best or second best player. He's not. I don't think he's playing for the rest of the season. He hasn't played much this year. So it's like you hate it because you guys know. I mean, look, we're here locally. Like I've always rooted for and hope that Kermit does well, and just because of what he did at the MTSU and all that. But it's just, when you run into those kind of things, injury situations, if you get some transfers that just don't maybe hit the way you need them to hit in this landscape of the SEC, it's just so easy, right, to just get caught behind. And I think that's kind of where Ole Miss has gotten is it's just you're in this SEC. You're not in the SEC of a decade ago or more than that, where you knew who the top 2 teams were, and you just had a couple other teams that would fight for those next spots every couple of years. Now it's just like look at what the teams are. Look at what Oates has done in Alabama. Look at what Muss has done in Arkansas. Pearl at Auburn. It's not just Kentucky anymore, and you're just always kind of chasing that group. And for Ole Miss, it just hasn't worked out to the point that they've been able to stay, in that spot where he gets the tournament the first year, but they just bad injuries, guys just haven't panned out, and it just kind of equals to where they've been these past couple seasons.
Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14 joining us here on Main Street Sports today at the Blake Lovell on Twitter. Blake, I have to, before we let you go, I have to go back to this tweet that you sent out earlier that I responded to. You mentioned the defensive. I don't have it in front of me, but the rankings of best defensive players in the conference, the top 4 are all from Tennessee, based on some sort of metric. I'm not exactly what the metric was, but that's insane, right?
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean,
yes, Tennessee is on another level defensively.
Yeah. And that's what's going to be very interesting, guys. And we know where the discussion is going to turn to. Like, if this team gets the tournament, gets put out early, they're going to do it on the heels of what is going to go down as a historically great defensive season. And I just think that's where, again, you know, talk about pressure, knowing that's where they are right now is in that spot of being a historically great defensive team. And you mentioned it, Vescovy, Ziegler, Kamwa, Julian Phillips, top 4 in terms of college basketball references, individual player ratings this season. And even Tyreek Key's down there at number 9. So 5 of the top 9 in the league, right? It's just, it's ridiculous. And so
for
that's how
reference,
good they are.
Mississippi State has 2 of the top 10.
Yeah. So it's just, it's nuts. It really is. You know,
and nobody in the top 10 on offense. Surprise!
I was going to
surprise.
say that's where I was going next. I was like, if you want to compare it, there's nobody there offensively. So, and
they're the number 6 team in the country, and they have nobody worth a crap on offense. Apparently,
well, there's another quickly, guys. Like, there's another theme. Some of the best defensive teams in the SEC, if you look at their offensive numbers, they're so wildly different, and it's just like, I mean, Mississippi State's offensive numbers are just putrid. I mean, they're bad. Florida's offensive numbers bad, and these are 2 of the better defensive teams in the country. So that gap certainly exists for other teams, but for Tennessee, yeah, they are doing some things defensively that are just absolutely ridiculous. So,
Blake, we appreciate your time as always, and look forward to talking to you again before the tournament gets going. We appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
Justin, if you wouldn't mind, throw up that projection sports bracket as the projection sports bracket released for this. Yeah, that's it. You look at this, Tennessee in the South as the 2 seed, getting a 15 seed Vermont, but you've got Illinois and Nevada there. I don't think, if you look just directly to the left of Nevada, if Memphis is a 10 seed, they're going to be wherever Tennessee is. You can write that down, take a little note, remind yourself in case you didn't know George Strait says what's up. Memphis is going to be in the second round against Tennessee no matter what happens, if it's possible.
Well, I mean, because the NCAA selection committee is not above that.
Oh, no, they are all about that.
That is the petty to which they aspire.
Listen, because ratings and money tell the story.
Yep.
And there's no doubt in my mind that that's what's going to happen.
They'd love the possibility of a Tennessee-Memphis matchup at some point in the tournament.
Now, you've got Auburn down at a 7, Kentucky an 11 seed. I think Kentucky, look, there are 2 different Kentucky teams. There's 22 Kentucky and 23 Kentucky. And I think 23 Kentucky has been pretty good. I think they're probably better than an 11 seed. We'll see. But I think they will play themselves into a single-digit seed.
What about North Carolina in a play-in game?
Yeah, they're bad. I mean,
when have we seen that?
And this is the team that went to the national championship last year because they just started playing so well and late in the season. I mean, but are those the only 4 SEC teams? Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Auburn? I don't see anybody else.
I believe that's it.
I mean, is that possible? Missouri. Missouri's a 9 seed.
Oh, okay.
But boy, that's
5.
Yeah, that's not great.
No.
Oh, Arkansas is an 8 in the top left. So, okay. So 6 teams I can see. I think 6 is probably the number.
Probably.
Based on, but this has been a crazy season. I mean,
and still no Texas A&M.
Yeah, poor Texas A&M. You feel bad for them. You really do. This has been a ridiculous season. I mean, Purdue lost this weekend and still number 1 because everybody else lost too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I guess they're the overall number 1 since they're still in Louisville.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Your number 1s are Houston, Alabama, Purdue, and Kansas. I don't know if you already said that, but
I have not.
Alabama's still a number one.
I mean, yeah, they're the number 2 team in the country. And look, you're gonna have to just throw that Oklahoma game out.
I guess
You're just gonna have to. I mean, if they continue,
they have.
if you continue to be, if they continue doing what they've done, I mean, you get a mulligan. And honestly, Alabama's been the most dominant team in the SEC this year. Now, if they come to Thompson Bowling and get drubbed, we got a conversation to have. Because I think Tennessee has now, with its loss at Florida, I don't think they can be a 1. The only way they can be a 1 is if everybody else loses a bunch. Kansas loses a couple more games,
But here's
Purdue
the thing.
loses a couple more games.
If Tennessee beats Alabama and they've already beaten Kansas.
Yeah, but Arizona's already beaten you. So I think Arizona moves into the 1.
But who else has Arizona beaten?
I don't know. They're pretty good. I mean,
but who else have they beaten?
I don't know. I don't know the schedule off top.
That's my point. When you look up there and you see Houston, Alabama, Purdue, and Kansas on the 1 line, they've beaten Kansas. If they beat Alabama, how are they not a number 1? And what does Arizona have to do with it?
Well, apparently head-to-head doesn't matter, so I guess Arizona has nothing to do with it. That's the way I look at it.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I'm not necessarily frustrated with you. I'm frustrated with the rationale of head-to-head doesn't matter.
Okay, well, let's pull up the AP Top 25 again, Justin. Let's pull that graphic back up. Head-to-head does not matter. If you will look on the second line there at number 5 and number 6, which one's 5 and which one's 6?
Well, 4, 5, and 6. Well, okay, they lost to Arizona. You're right. But yeah, 5 and 6.
How does I understand it's done by points, but how can any voter have Texas higher?
Who had Texas higher than Tennessee, given what happened just 9 days ago?
That's a good question. I got nothing. It's insane. Anyway.
I appreciate you pointing that out to me. now I am mad at you.
It's not my fault. I didn't vote. It was Mike Berardino.
Most likely.
Oh man. Hey, real quick. Peyton Manning, big mad at his brother for beating him in the Pro Bowl. And basically what happened was Eli's team was inside the 5-yard line. There's a rule that you can't run inside the 5-yard line. So Eli's team and Peyton's like, no, that's a penalty. Can't run. That's a run. Which makes sense. Except that thanks to flag football rules expert and one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the flag football game, Chris Hughes, says that you don't even actually have to kneel. You have to tell the referee that you intend to kneel, and that's it. That's the ball game. So no QB kneel necessary. It is legal to kneel inside the 5-yard line. So therefore, Peyton, you have no gripe, and get some help. Stop. Get some help.
There we go. Yeah.
So there you go. Peyton was big mad. Eli is the better Manning coach, apparently,
in flag football.
And so there you go. He gets the Gatorade bath and has a good time for the NFC. So, all right, that's going to do it for today's show. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on Main Street Sports. So we'll be back tomorrow at 2:00. And Chip Walters will join us as always. So we'll look forward to that and much, much more. So we'll see you then here on Main Street Media TV, Main Street Sports Station, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Have a great day.